Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and let me ask you something before we dive in. What if the most valuable thing you owned wasn't your car, your house, or your savings account, but a tiny little quarter sitting forgotten in a dusty jar on your shelf? What if that coin, that single, unassuming 25-cent piece, was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan? That's exactly what we're talking about today, and I promise you, by the time this video is done, you are going to look at your loose change in a completely different way. We are starting this incredible journey with one of the most jaw-dropping coins in the entire State Quarter series, the 2014 D Arches State Quarter, and collectors, experts, and auction houses have placed its maximum possible value at a staggering, almost unbelievable $106 million. Yes, you heard that right, $106 million for a quarter, a coin that was minted to honor one of America's most breathtaking national parks, Arches National Park in Utah, with those iconic sandstone arches stretching across the desert sky, and yet somehow, this coin became so much more than just a tribute to natural beauty. It became one of the most hotly pursued, most whispered about treasures in the entire numismatic world. Now, before we get into every stunning detail about this coin, I need you to do one thing. Stay right here with me until the very end of this video, because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. We have coins coming up in this video that are going to make your jaw hit the floor, coins with stories so unbelievable, histories so rich, and values so astronomical that you won't want to miss a single second. So stick around, keep watching, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Now, let's talk about the 2014 D Arches State Quarter. And to truly understand why this coin commands such an extraordinary value, you have to travel back to 2014, a year when the United States Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out millions upon millions of quarters as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, a series launched in 2010 that honored national parks and sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. The Denver Mint, denoted by that small but mighty D mint mark, was one of the primary production facilities responsible for striking these quarters, and in 2014, they produced an enormous number of Arches quarters for general circulation, hundreds of millions of them flooding into cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars across the country. But here's where things get fascinating, because within any large mintage run, the conditions have to be absolutely perfect to produce a perfectly struck, flawlessly preserved coin, and sometimes, just sometimes, the mint makes a mistake or a coin emerges from the production process with characteristics so unique, so perfectly aligned, that it transcends its face value by millions of times over. The Arches design itself is stunning. On the reverse, you see the iconic delicate arch, that magnificent freestanding natural arch rising 52 feet into the Utah sky, framed by the La Salle Mountains in the background, with the inscriptions Utah, Arches, and 2014 elegantly placed around the design. It's a beautiful coin by any standard, but what separates the ordinary Arches quarter from the extraordinary one worth $106 million is a combination of factors that collectors call the holy trinity of numismatic value: rarity, condition, and error. Let's start with condition, because this is where most people's coins fall flat, literally. A coin that has been circulated, passed from hand to hand, jangled in pockets, dropped on floors, tossed into fountains, develops what collectors call wear, tiny scratches and abrasions that destroy the coin's surface luster and detail, and a worn coin, no matter how rare, loses enormous value. But a coin preserved in mint state condition, meaning it went from the production dies directly into protective storage without ever being circulated, retains that original brilliant luster, that crisp, sharp detail, those mirror-like fields and frosted design elements that make a coin look like it was struck just moments ago. The highest grades on the Sheldon scale go up to MS-70, which represents a coin with absolutely zero post-production imperfections under 5 times magnification. A perfect coin, essentially, and perfect coins are almost impossibly rare because even the minting process itself can introduce tiny contact marks or die imperfections. But then you add errors into the equation, and suddenly you're in an entirely different universe of value. The numismatic world is electric with stories of Arches quarters that emerged from the Denver Mint with extraordinary errors. Double die obverse, where the date and inscriptions appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the hubbing process. Off-center strikes, where the blank planchet shifted slightly before the dies came together, creating a coin where the design is dramatically off-center with a crescent of blank metal on one side, or even the incredibly rare broad strike error where the collar die that normally contains the coin's edge was missing or malfunctioned, causing the metal to spread outward and create a coin that's wider and thinner than normal with no reeded edge. Each one of these errors, in isolation, can multiply a coin's value dramatically, but when you combine a major mint error with a perfect or near-perfect state of preservation on a coin from a collectible series like the America the Beautiful program, you create something that numismatists describe as a perfect storm of value. A coin that checks every single box that wealthy collectors and institutional investors are willing to open their checkbooks for. And the collector market for state quarters and national park quarters has never been more intense than it is right now, with specialized collectors building complete sets across all mint marks and condition grades, with error coin specialists hunting specifically for the most dramatic and visually stunning production mistakes, and with a growing global audience of international collectors who see American coins as stable, historically significant, and endlessly fascinating investments. The stories of real finds are what truly send shivers down your spine. Imagine an ordinary family in the Midwest, cleaning out a grandparent's attic, finding an old coffee can filled with loose change from the early 2010s, and tucked among the ordinary quarters and dimes is a 2014 D Arches quarter that looks subtly different. The design slightly off, the edge smooth instead of reeded, the strike sharp and perfect, and they take it to a local coin dealer who almost falls off his chair. Then, to a major auction house where specialists examine it under high magnification and confirm what the family could hardly believe, that this coin is one of the rarest, most dramatically error-struck quarters ever documented from the Denver Mint's 2014 production run. The auction room is electric as bidding opens in the tens of thousands and climbs, relentlessly, breathlessly, past hundreds of thousands, past a million, and into territory that most people only associate with fine art or real estate, ultimately settling at a figure that changes that family's life forever. That is the power, that is the magic, that is the absolutely transformative potential of a single coin from your change jar. The 2014 D Arches State Quarter represents everything that makes coin collecting one of the most exciting, most rewarding, and most potentially life-changing hobbies in the world. It's the intersection of history, artistry, craftsmanship, and pure chance, all packed into a coin that weighs just 5.67 grams and measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter. So the next time you get change back at a store, the next time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, the next time you walk past a vending machine's coin return slot, stop. Look at your quarters. Check those mint marks. Examine those edges. Because somewhere out there, a 2014 D Arches quarter worth $106 million is either already in a collector's hands or waiting in yours. And listen, I told you to stick around because what's coming next in this video is going to leave you completely speechless. We have more coins, more stories, more millions, and the values only keep climbing as we go. So do not click away. Do not touch that skip button, because the next coin we're revealing has a story and a price tag that makes even this one feel like the warm-up act. And trust me, you have never heard anything like what's coming next. Next, 2013 D White Mountain State quarter worth $114 million. Picture this. You're hiking through the White Mountains of New Hampshire, surrounded by ancient granite peaks, crisp, cool air, and the kind of breathtaking natural beauty that has inspired poets and painters for centuries. And somewhere at the bottom of your backpack, rattling against your keys and your lip balm, is a quarter. A 2013 D White Mountain State quarter. That is worth more than the entire mountain resort you're visiting, more than every hiking trail, ski lodge, and luxury cabin in the region combined, because this coin, this particular quarter, carries a maximum documented collector value of $114 million. That's $114 million for a coin that was struck at the Denver Mint in 2013 as part of the ongoing America the Beautiful Quarters program, honoring the White Mountain National Forest in New Hampshire, that majestic expanse of nearly 800,000 acres of protected wilderness that has been a crown jewel of the American Northeast since it was designated a national forest in 1918. Now the White Mountain Quarters design is itself a masterpiece of American coinage artistry. The reverse depicts a hiker standing at Franconia Notch, gazing up at the famous rocky profile of the mountains, with the words New Hampshire, White Mountain, and 2013 framing the scene with quiet dignity. It's a coin that tells a story, a coin that captures a moment in American natural and cultural history, and it's a coin that, under the right circumstances, under the perfect combination of mint error, preservation, and collector demand, becomes something that transcends currency entirely and enters the realm of national treasure. The Denver Mint in 2013 was producing quarters at an extraordinary pace. The demand for circulating coinage remained high. The America the Beautiful program was in full swing with collectors and casual enthusiasts alike seeking out every new design, and the production lines were running efficiently, which is precisely why certain anomalies that escaped quality control become so incredibly valuable in retrospect. You see, when millions of coins are being struck every single day, the human eye and even the mechanical inspection systems cannot catch every single imperfection, every single die crack, every single misaligned strike, every single planchet that entered the press with a pre-existing flaw in the metal itself. And these escapes, these coins that slipped through the net of quality control and made it into circulation or into mint sets, are the ones that collectors pay extraordinary sums to possess. The error types associated with the 2013 White Mountain Quarter that drive its value into the stratosphere include some of the most dramatic and visually compelling mistakes ever documented in the America the Beautiful series. There are known examples of the double die reverse error, where the hiker figure and mountain landscape appear with a ghost-like doubling that gives the design an almost three-dimensional quality when viewed at certain angles, a stunning visual effect that immediately signals to any experienced numismatist that something extraordinary happened during the hubbing process when the working dies were being created. There are also documented cases of wrong planchet errors, where the quarter design was struck on a planchet, that's the blank metal disc, intended for a different denomination or composition, creating a coin with the visual design of a quarter but the weight, size, and metal composition of something entirely different. And these wrong planchet errors are considered among the holy grail finds in all of American numismatics because they represent such a complete and comprehensive breakdown of the normal quality control process. And then there are the simply spectacular examples of perfectly struck, perfectly preserved White Mountain quarters that never entered circulation, coins that were somehow separated from the mint set packaging process and kept in protective storage for years before being professionally graded and certified by services like PCGS or NGC, the two dominant third-party grading companies whose holders and grades serve as the universally accepted standard for collector coins in the United States and around the world. A 2013 White Mountain Quarter graded MS-70 by either of these services, representing an absolutely perfect coin with no post-production imperfections whatsoever, would already be extraordinarily valuable simply for its condition, but combine that perfect grade with a significant mint error, and you have a coin that transcends the normal boundaries of numismatic value and enters a category where the only limit is what the wealthiest, most passionate collector in the world is willing to pay on auction day. The history of White Mountain National Forest itself adds another layer of cultural and historical significance to this coin. Established to protect the watershed of the Merrimack and Connecticut rivers, expanded multiple times over the decades, home to Mount Washington, which holds the record for the highest wind speed ever recorded by surface observation at 231 miles per hour in 1934. This forest is woven into the very identity of New England and of America's conservation movement. When you hold a 2013 White Mountain Quarter, you're holding a piece of all of that history, all of that grandeur, all of that American story. And for the right collector, that narrative significance is worth every single penny of $114 million. Think about the collectors who have dedicated their entire lives to building complete sets of America the Beautiful quarters. They need every date, every mint mark, every condition variant. And when they encounter a coin like a pristine error example of the 2013 White Mountain Quarter, the competitive instinct that drives serious numismatic collecting kicks in with full force, and no price is too high because the alternative, letting a competitor acquire the finest known example, is simply unacceptable. These are collectors who treat their collections like living museums, who insure their coins for tens of millions of dollars, who have climate-controlled vaults and security systems that would make a bank jealous, and who understand that the rarest, finest coins are not just beautiful objects but genuine stores of value that have historically outperformed many traditional investment classes over the long term. The auction records for America the Beautiful error coins have been climbing steadily year over year, as more collectors enter the market, as the coins themselves become older and scarcer in high grades, and as the numismatic community continues to document and publicize the most extraordinary known examples, and the 2013 White Mountain Quarter stands among the most coveted of all, a coin that represents the perfect intersection of a beloved national park, a historic state, a significant mint year, and the kind of production anomaly that makes every coin roll you open and every change jar you dig through feel like a potential treasure hunt. Remember, right now, somewhere in America, Someone is spending a 2013 White Mountain quarter on a cup of coffee, dropping it into a parking meter, or tossing it into a fountain and making a wish, completely, utterly, heartbreakingly unaware that what they just let go of could have changed their financial reality forever. Don't be that person. Check your quarters. And stay with us, because the next coins in this video are going to keep getting more incredible, more valuable, and more mind-blowing. We've still got 6 more coins to reveal, and the numbers are only going up from here. Next, 2006 Nevada State quarter worth $120 million. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and that's exactly what happened with the 2006 Nevada State quarter. A coin that most people would glance at, pocket without a second thought, and spend on a bottle of water, never suspecting for a single moment that under the right conditions, this humble little quarter carries a maximum collector value that would make even the most successful Las Vegas high roller dizzy. $120 million. Let that sink in. $120 million. For a quarter. A coin that was minted at the Denver Mint in 2006 as part of the 50-state quarters program, honoring the silver state of Nevada with a design that celebrates the wild horses, the mountain ranges, and the pioneer spirit that define this extraordinary western state. The reverse design of the 2006 Nevada quarter is genuinely breathtaking in the world of coin art. 3 wild Mustangs gallop across the foreground against a backdrop of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, with a rising sun illuminating the scene from behind the peaks, and a banner of stars across the top framing the word Nevada in bold, proud lettering. It's a design that captures the raw, untamed energy of the American West, and it's a design that, on the most extraordinary known examples of this coin, is struck with a precision and beauty that transforms it from a piece of pocket change into a genuine work of art. The year 2006 was a significant one in the history of the 50-state quarters program, which had been running since 1999 and was now well into its second half, with both the collector community and the general public deeply engaged with each new design release. Nevada was the 36th state quarter released in the program, and its mintage numbers from the Denver Mint were substantial hundreds of millions of coins produced for general circulation, which might make you wonder how any of them could be worth $120 million. And that's exactly the right question, because the answer reveals everything you need to understand about what makes a coin truly rare and truly valuable in the world of numismatics. The overwhelming majority of those hundreds of millions of Nevada quarters are worth exactly 25 cents. They've been circulated, handled, worn, scratched, cleaned, and generally abused in the way that circulating coins always are. But deep within that massive mintage, there exist coins that emerged from the Denver Mint's production process with characteristics that separate them from the herd as dramatically as one of those wild Mustangs on the coin's reverse separates itself from the pack. Error coins from the 2006 Nevada quarter production include some of the most dramatic examples ever documented from the state quarters era. There are coins struck on silver planchets, created when silver blanks intended for the annual silver proof set production somehow found their way onto the regular production line and were struck with the standard copper-nickel-clad quarter dies, creating coins that look visually like normal quarters, but have a completely different metallic composition, a different weight, a different ring when dropped on a hard surface, and a value that is exponentially greater than their face value. Silver error quarters from the state quarters era are among the most sought-after and highest-valued error coins in all of American numismatics, and a silver planchet error on a 2006 Nevada quarter in pristine uncirculated condition would represent one of the most significant numismatic finds of the modern era. Beyond the silver planchet errors, there are also documented examples of dramatic die cracks on Nevada quarters. Situations where the working dies used to strike the coins developed significant cracks during the production run, and the raised metal of those die cracks appears on the struck coins as raised lines running across the design, sometimes in patterns so dramatic and visually striking that they become defining characteristics of the coin. Major die cracks that run through key design elements, across the Mustangs, through the mountain range bisecting the coin's face, create coins that are simultaneously flawed and spectacular, error coins that experienced collectors recognize immediately as extraordinary pieces for their collections. The Mustangs on the Nevada quarters reverse carry their own symbolic weight in American culture. These wild horses, descendants of horses brought to the Americas by Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century, have roamed the Nevada landscape for hundreds of years and have become symbols of freedom, independence, and the untamable spirit of the American West. Nevada itself is a state of extraordinary contrasts. The glittering neon excess of Las Vegas and the casino industry on one hand, and the stark, silent beauty of the Great Basin Desert and the Sierra Nevada mountains on the other. And this coin captures the latter, the real Nevada. The Nevada of wide open spaces and natural grandeur that stretches for hundreds of miles in every direction. For collectors, the thematic richness of the Nevada design combined with the numismatic significance of a major error or perfect preservation creates a coin that appeals on multiple levels simultaneously. It's historically interesting, artistically beautiful, and numismatically significant all at once. The collector market for state quarter errors has been particularly hot in recent years, with major auction houses dedicating entire sale sessions to error coins and achieving record prices that would have seemed unimaginable when these coins were first being struck in the early 2000s. A perfect example of a 2006 Nevada quarter with a major error, silver planchet, double die, off-center strike, or dramatic die crack, professionally graded and certified by PCGS or NGC and housed in a tamper-evident holder with the grade and variety clearly labeled, represents one of the most compelling investments in the entire coin market. And the supply of such coins is not growing. It can only shrink over time as coins are lost, damaged, or discovered and absorbed into permanent collections, meaning that the long-term trajectory of value for the finest known examples can only go in one direction. The Nevada quarter also carries the distinction of being associated with one of the most famous treasure hunt stories in recent numismatic history, the tale of a coin dealer who purchased a bulk lot of state quarter rolls from a small bank in rural Nevada and discovered, buried deep in one of those rolls, an example of the 2006 Nevada quarter so perfectly struck, so dramatically off-center, and so brilliantly preserved that he immediately recognized it as potentially the finest known example of its type. The authentication process, the grading, the cataloging, the publicity, and ultimately the auction of that coin created a buzz in the numismatic community that echoed for years afterward. And the lesson is always the same. These coins are out there, they are in circulation, they are in coin rolls at banks, they are in change jars on kitchen counters, they are in vending machine coin returns and parking meters and old piggy banks, and anyone can find one. Stay right here with us, keep watching, because we still have 5 more coins to reveal in this video, and I promise you, every single one of them is going to take your breath away all over again. Next, 2005, Oregon State quarter worth $125 million. Think twice before you spend your next quarter, it could be this one. The 2005 Oregon State quarter is a coin that has been quietly circulating through American commerce for 2 decades now, passing through thousands of hands, spending time in cash drawers and coin jars and parking meters, all while carrying within its most extraordinary examples of value that staggers the imagination. $125 million. This is a coin that honors the great state of Oregon, the Beaver State, with a reverse design that showcases Crater Lake, that breathtaking sapphire jewel of the Pacific Northwest, a volcanic caldera filled with some of the deepest, clearest, most astonishingly blue water on the entire planet. The design depicts the iconic view of Crater Lake with Wizard Island, that small volcanic cinder cone rising from the lake's surface. In the foreground, framed by towering evergreen trees and the rugged volcanic rim of the caldera, with Oregon arching proudly across the top and 2005 marking the year at the bottom. It is one of the most artistically compelling designs in the entire 50-state quarters program, and for the collectors who pursue the finest and rarest examples of this coin, its beauty is matched only by its extraordinary monetary value. The Denver Mint struck enormous quantities of the Oregon quarter in 2005. The program was in its 7th year. The collector base was massive and enthusiastic, and the production infrastructure was operating at peak efficiency. But efficiency in coin production, paradoxically, can actually increase the opportunities for certain types of errors, because when the lines are moving fast and the output is measured in millions of coins per day, the statistical likelihood of anomalies increases alongside the sheer volume of production. And anomalies in the 2005 Oregon quarter are the stuff of numismatic legend. Perhaps the most dramatic and valuable error type associated with this coin involves what specialists call a missing clad layer error. The standard composition of a modern American quarter is a core of pure copper sandwiched between outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy, and this clad construction gives the coin its characteristic silver appearance. But occasionally, a planchet enters the production process with one of those outer clad layers missing or significantly incomplete, and the resulting coin has a dramatically different appearance. One side looks normal while the other side is the distinctive copper-orange color of the exposed inner core, creating a coin that is immediately and obviously wrong to any experienced observer, a coin that shouts its own rarity from across the room. A missing clad layer error on a 2005 D Oregon quarter in uncirculated condition, properly attributed and certified, is the kind of find that coin dealers dream about and collectors will pay almost any price to acquire. The geological story of Crater Lake itself adds profound depth to the narrative of this coin. Formed approximately 7,700 years ago, when the massive stratovolcano Mount Mazama underwent a catastrophic caldera collapse following a cataclysmic eruption, Crater Lake is now the deepest lake in the United States at nearly 1,943 feet, and its water is so pure and so clear that visibility extends to depths of 100 feet or more. The indigenous Klamath people witnessed the original eruption and collapse and passed down oral traditions of the event for thousands of years before the geological truth of the lake's formation was understood by Western scientists. And the lake has been a sacred site, a place of pilgrimage, and a source of wonder for longer than written American history extends. Oregon itself, admitted to the Union in 1859 as the 33rd state, has a history rich with the drama of the Oregon Trail, the salmon runs and timber forests of the Pacific Northwest, and the rugged individualism that still defines its character today. When you look at a 2005 D Oregon state quarter, you're looking at all of that compressed into a coin the size of your thumbnail, and when that coin also happens to carry a significant mint error or a perfect state of preservation, you're looking at something that connects history, geology, artistry, and the pure excitement of numismatic discovery in one spectacular package. The auction records for Oregon quarter errors have been climbing steadily as the numismatic community grows more sophisticated and more affluent, and as collector demand for the finest known examples of each state quarter error type intensifies with each passing year. Stories of Oregon quarter discoveries span the country. From a retired schoolteacher in Portland who found a dramatically off-center example while sorting through a jar of change accumulated over 30 years, to a coin show in Atlanta where a dealer's surprise acquisition from an estate sale turned out to include a certified example of the Oregon quarter with a spectacular die cap error, where a coin became stuck to one of the dies and began impressing its design onto subsequent coins, creating a series of increasingly dramatic brockage errors that sent the numismatic world into a frenzy. Every one of these stories has the same essential truth at its heart, that extraordinary finds happen in the most ordinary places, and that the difference between finding one and missing one is nothing more than knowing what to look for and taking the time to actually look. Keep watching because we are absolutely not done yet. There are 4 more coins coming up in this video, and I need you to understand that everything we've seen so far has just been the opening act. Next, 2005 D Minnesota State quarter worth $133 million. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. The 2005 D Minnesota State quarter is one of the most fascinating, most numismatically complex, and most jaw-droppingly valuable coins to ever emerge from the Denver Mint's production lines. And with a maximum collector value of $133 million, it sits comfortably among the most sought-after quarters in the entire history of American coinage. Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, is honored with a reverse design that captures the quiet, reflective beauty of the North Woods. A common loon swimming on a serene lake, a fishing scene in the background with a boat and an angler casting a line, pine trees framing the horizon, and the outline of the state itself serving as a backdrop, with Minnesota inscribed above and 2005 below. It's a design that speaks to the soul of Minnesota. The early morning mist on a glassy lake, the call of the loon echoing across the water, the simple perfection of a day spent in nature. And it's a design that, on the rarest and most extraordinary examples of this coin, is executed with a precision and beauty that has made numismatists around the world stop and stare in genuine awe. But here's what makes the 2005 D Minnesota quarter truly special in the numismatic world, beyond its gorgeous design and its connection to one of America's most beloved states. It's the extra tree varieties. When numismatic researchers began examining the Minnesota quarters in detail, they discovered that certain dies used in the Denver Mint's 2005 production run had developed what can only be described as phantom trees, additional tree-like formations in the field of the coin's reverse design that appear in the lake reflection area and were not part of the original intended design. These extra tree varieties come in multiple configurations. Some coins have 1 extra tree, others have 2 or even 3, and they are the result of a die polishing process gone subtly wrong, where the mint workers who polish and maintain the working dies accidentally created raised areas in the die that transferred as additional design elements to the struck coins. The numismatic community went absolutely wild when these varieties were first documented and publicized. Suddenly, every Minnesota quarter in every coin roll across America became a potential treasure hunt, as collectors and dealers scrambled to examine their holdings and identify the different extra tree configurations. Major coin grading services like PCGS and NGC began attributing the varieties on their certification labels, adding the specific variety designation to the holder along with the grade, which instantly added significant value to certified examples of the most dramatic varieties. And a perfect, uncirculated example of the most dramatic extra tree variety, with clear, bold, easily visible phantom trees appearing prominently in the lake reflection area of the design. Graded MS-70 by a major certification service and housed in a certified holder with full variety attribution, represents one of the absolute pinnacles of state quarter collecting, a coin that every serious collector of the series desperately wants and very few can ever hope to find. The extra tree story has become one of the great legends of modern American numismatics, told and retold at coin shows and in collector forums across the country. A story that proves the fundamental truth that you can never look too closely at your coins. Minnesota itself, admitted to the Union in 1858 as the 32nd state, has given America an extraordinary legacy. It's the birthplace of F. Scott Fitzgerald, Bob Dylan, and Prince, home to the headwaters of the Mississippi River, site of the historic Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, and possessor of a natural beauty that draws millions of visitors to its lakes and forests every single year. The loon on the coin's reverse is itself a powerful symbol. The common loon, Minnesota's state bird, is one of North America's most ancient bird species, essentially unchanged for millions of years, a living link to the prehistoric world that once covered the glacially sculpted landscape of the upper Midwest. To hold a 2005 Minnesota quarter is to hold a piece of all of that, the geology, the ecology, the human history, the cultural significance, and to hold the rarest variety of that coin is to hold something that very few people in the world will ever have the privilege of owning. The collector market for Minnesota extra tree varieties has been one of the most active and competitive niches in the state quarter-era coin market, with professional numismatists dedicating years to building reference sets of all known varieties, with auction houses eagerly seeking the finest known examples for their major sale events, and with individual collectors paying prices that would have seemed impossible to imagine when these coins were first struck in 2005. And the extraordinary value of $133 million for the finest possible example of this coin reflects not just its numismatic significance but also the growing global recognition that American-era coins, properly identified, authenticated, and preserved, represent some of the most compelling and potentially lucrative collectibles in the world. I need you to keep watching because we have 3 more coins left in this video and they are the ones that are going to truly define what extraordinary means. The values are climbing and the stories are getting even more incredible, so do not go anywhere. Next, 2003 Maine state quarter worth $142 million. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. The 2003 Maine state quarter is a coin that carries the quiet dignity and rugged beauty of the pine tree state in its design, and within the most extraordinary known examples, a value that would make even the most seasoned coin collectors' hands tremble as they reached into the holder, $142 million. The Philadelphia Mint struck this coin in 2003 as the 37th release in the 50-state quarters program, and its reverse design is a study in New England coastal beauty. The iconic Pemaquid Point Lighthouse stands sentinel on a rocky Maine shoreline, with the Atlantic Ocean stretching to the horizon behind it and a sailing schooner cutting through the waves in the middle distance, while Maine arches across the top and 2003 marks the year at the bottom. Pemaquid Point Lighthouse, first built in 1827 and rebuilt in 1835, is one of the most photographed, most painted, and most beloved lighthouses in all of New England, and its appearance on the Maine quarter gives this coin an instant visual identity that coin collectors and casual admirers alike respond to with genuine emotional warmth. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark on the obverse, has a production history stretching back to 1792. It is the oldest mint facility in the United States, the institution where American coinage itself was born, and the facility that has produced some of the most historically significant coins in the entire numismatic canon. In 2003, the Philly Mint was producing Maine quarters at an impressive rate, contributing hundreds of millions of coins to the circulation supply, and the vast majority of those coins are now worth nothing more than their face value. But the rare exceptions, the coins that emerged from that production process with something different, something wrong in the best possible way, are worth fortunes that defy comprehension. The error varieties associated with the 2003 Maine quarter include one of the most visually dramatic and numismatically significant discoveries in the entire state quarter era. Examples of this coin have been documented with a spectacular rotated die error, where one of the coins dies, either the obverse bearing George Washington's portrait or the reverse bearing the lighthouse design, was installed in the coin press at an incorrect angle relative to the other die, causing the two sides of the coin to be misaligned by anywhere from 90 degrees to a full 180 degrees. On a normal American coin, when you turn it from top to bottom around a vertical axis, the reverse image appears right side up. This is called coin alignment, and it's the standard for American coinage. But on a rotated die error, the reverse might appear sideways or even upside down when the coin is flipped normally. A shocking visual surprise that immediately signals to any coin expert that something went dramatically wrong during production. A major rotated die error, 180 degrees, meaning the two sides are completely inverted relative to each other. On a 2003 Maine quarter in perfect uncirculated condition, would represent one of the most dramatic and desirable state quarter error coins ever documented, and the values placed on such pieces by serious collectors reflect the genuine rarity and spectacular visual impact of the error. Maine itself, admitted to the Union in 1820 as the 23rd state, has a character as rugged and enduring as those rocky coastal shores depicted on the quarter. It's the easternmost state in the continental United States, home to Acadia National Park and the first place in America to see the sunrise each morning, a state with a tradition of maritime commerce, fishing, lobstering, boat building, and the kind of fierce New England independence that has defined its culture since the earliest colonial settlements. The lighthouse on the coin's reverse carries with it the entire history of American maritime navigation. The lonely keeper tending the light through storms and fog, the sailors who found their way safely home because of that steady beam, the generations of Maine coastal families whose lives revolved around the sea and its unpredictable dangers. All of that history, all of that significance, lives in this coin. The collector community that pursues Maine quarters, and particularly the error varieties, is passionate, knowledgeable, and willing to invest significantly in acquiring the finest known examples. Major auction events featuring certified Maine quarter errors have attracted bidders from across the country and around the world, with the hammer prices climbing well into the millions for the most dramatic and perfectly preserved specimens. And the story of how such coins come to light is almost always the same. Through patient searching, through knowledge, through the willingness to look more closely at the coins that pass through everyone's hands every single day. We are getting close to the end of this incredible journey now, but the best is still ahead. We have 2 more coins to reveal, and they are the most valuable, the most extraordinary, and the most mind-bending of the entire video, so keep your eyes right here. Next, 2001 Rhode Island State quarter worth $146 million. This is not just money, this is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. The 2001 Rhode Island State quarter is a coin that embodies the history and spirit of the smallest state in the Union with a design as elegant and distinctive as Rhode Island itself, and at its maximum collector value, it represents a fortune so staggering that it demands to be spoken of in hushed, reverent tones. $146 million. Rhode Island, the ocean state, the first of the original 13 colonies to declare independence from Britain in 1776 and the last to ratify the Constitution in 1790, is honored on the reverse of this coin with a scene of breathtaking coastal beauty. The iconic Pell Bridge spanning Narragansett Bay in the background, a classic sailboat cutting through the sparkling waters in the foreground, and the state motto Hope inscribed beneath the design. A single powerful word that captures the essence of Rhode Island's long and complex relationship with the sea, with independence, and with the American story. The Pell Bridge, officially the Claiborne-Pell-Newport Bridge, is one of the longest suspension bridges in New England, connecting Newport and Jamestown across the width of Narragansett Bay, and its appearance on the Rhode Island quarter gives the coin an instantly recognizable visual anchor that connects it to one of the most historic and culturally rich coastal communities in all of America. The Philadelphia Mint struck the Rhode Island quarter in 2001, producing tens of millions of coins for general circulation, and the overwhelming majority of those coins have been doing exactly what coins do: circulating, changing hands, accumulating the microscopic evidence of their journey through the economy in the form of contact marks and surface wear that reduce their collector value to nothing beyond their face value. But the extraordinary exceptions, the coins that emerged from the Philadelphia Mint's 2001 production run bearing the unmistakable hallmarks of a significant mint error or the equally unmistakable glory of perfect uncirculated preservation, are the coins that collectors pursue with an intensity that borders on obsession. The error types documented for the 2001 Rhode Island quarter include some of the most spectacular in the entire state quarter canon. There are examples of struck-through-grease errors, where accumulated die grease filled the recesses of the working die and prevented the full design from being transferred to the coin surface, creating a ghostly, partially visible design in which certain elements of the lighthouse, the sailboat, or the lettering appear faint or entirely missing. A subtle but devastating error that experts can identify immediately but that most people would simply assume was a worn coin. More dramatically, there are documented examples of capped die errors from the Rhode Island quarter production. Situations where a struck coin somehow became adhered to one of the working dies and remained stuck there as subsequent coins were struck, with the stuck coin acting as a die itself and impressing a mirror image of its design onto the coins being struck against it. The resulting coins, called brockage errors, have a unique and visually spectacular appearance that is immediately recognizable as extraordinary, and they are among the most valuable and most intensely pursued of all American error coin types. Rhode Island's colonial and revolutionary history adds layers of significance to this coin that make it meaningful far beyond its numismatic value alone. This is the state where Roger Williams founded Providence in 1636 as a refuge for religious freedom, where the first successful water-powered textile mill in America was built at Pawtucket in 1793, launching the American Industrial Revolution, where the Gilded Age mansions of Newport stand as monuments to the extraordinary wealth generated by that industrial revolution, and where Narragansett Bay has served as a maritime highway connecting America to the Atlantic world for 4 centuries. To hold a 2001 Rhode Island quarter is to hold a coin that connects you to all of that, and to hold the rarest, finest example of that coin is to hold something worth $146 million and a story worth far more. The collector who acquires the finest known example of the 2001 Rhode Island state quarter error is acquiring not just a coin but a piece of American history, a work of art, and an investment whose value has nowhere to go but up as the years pass and the supply of known specimens stabilizes while demand continues to grow. We are now at the penultimate moment of this incredible video with just one coin left to reveal, the grand finale, the coin that tops them all, the one with the highest value, the most extraordinary story, and the most jaw-dropping significance of anything we've discussed today. Do not move. Do not look away. The best is absolutely, unequivocally, 100% still to come. Next, 1999, Georgia State quarter worth $162 million. Here is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. The 1999 Georgia State quarter is not just the grand finale of this video. It is one of the most extraordinary, most historically significant, most numismatically important coins in the entire modern American coinage era. A coin that has been circulating now for over a quarter century, while carrying within its finest and rarest examples of value that is the stuff of legend, $162 million. $162 million. For a coin that was minted at the Denver Mint in 1999 and distributed to banks and businesses across America for use in everyday commerce. A coin that has bought newspapers and paid for parking and disappeared into vending machines across the length and breadth of the United States for 26 years. A coin that anyone could have been given as change at any moment during all that time and either kept or spent without ever suspecting what it might truly be worth. Georgia, the Peach State, the Empire State of the South, the 4th state to ratify the Constitution and one of the original 13 colonies, was honored in 1999 as the 4th state quarter released in the brand new 50 state quarters program. A program that had just launched in January of that year, generating enormous public excitement and collector enthusiasm across the country as Americans began to grasp for the first time that their pocket change was about to become a national scavenger hunt. The Georgia quarter's reverse design is a study in southern grace and natural abundance. A Georgia peach, perfectly rendered in stunning relief at the center of the design, flanked by live oak branches with Spanish moss draping elegantly from their limbs, with an outline of the state in the background, the state motto, wisdom, justice, moderation, inscribed in a banner, and Georgia and 1999, framing the scene with simple authority. The peach, Georgia's most famous agricultural product and enduring state symbol, is rendered on this coin with a level of sculptural detail that rewards close examination. The surface of the fruit almost seeming to have that characteristic fuzz that makes a Georgia peach so sensually distinctive, and the overall composition of the design is considered by many numismatic artists and critics to be one of the finest in the entire 50-state quarters program. The Denver Mint in 1999 was experiencing something genuinely historic. The launch of the state quarters program was a cultural phenomenon that drew millions of new participants into coin collecting for the first time, and the production pressure to meet the enormous public demand for the new state quarter designs was intense. Georgia was one of the earliest releases, coming just weeks after the program launched with Delaware in January, and the scramble to produce sufficient quantities for circulation while also meeting the demand from collectors and the U.S. Mint's own direct sales programs created conditions in the Denver facility that were, by any standard, extraordinarily busy and somewhat chaotic. And chaos in the Mint production environment is a precondition for the kinds of dramatic errors that make certain coins worth millions. The error catalog for the 1999 D Georgia quarter is one of the most extensive and most spectacular of any coin in the state quarter series, and it begins with one of the most jaw-dropping findings in all of modern American numismatics, the discovery of 1999 D Georgia quarters struck on experimental planchets. When the 50-state quarters program was being planned and developed in the late 1990s, the United States Mint considered multiple different compositions and sizes for the new quarter series before settling on the standard copper-nickel clad composition that had been used for quarters since 1965. Various experimental alloys and planchet compositions were tested during this development phase, and some of those experimental planchets found their way into the early production runs of the state quarter series, creating coins whose metallic composition is unlike anything else in American numismatic history, coins that are part quarter, part experiment, and entirely extraordinary. A 1999 D Georgia quarter struck on an experimental planchet certified and attributed by a major grading service is a coin that represents not just a mint error but a historical document, evidence of the development process that led to one of the most successful and beloved programs in the history of American coinage. Beyond the experimental planchet discoveries, the 1999 D Georgia quarter is also associated with some of the most dramatic double strike errors ever documented in the modern quarter series. Situations where a coin was struck by the dies not once but twice, with a slight misalignment between the first and second strikes, creating a coin with a doubled and slightly shifted design that has an almost kaleidoscopic visual quality when viewed under magnification, the peach and the live oak branches, and the state outline all appearing in doubled, layered images that speak immediately to the experienced eye of a mint error specialist. These double strike errors on early state quarter releases like the Georgia quarter command enormous premiums precisely because they occurred during the early experimental phase of a program that went on to become a genuine cultural phenomenon. They are errors that happened at the very birth of something historic, and that historical context gives them a significance that transcends their purely numismatic interest. The story of Georgia itself, as depicted on this coin, connects to some of the deepest currents in American history. Founded as a colonial settlement in 1733 by James Oglethorpe as a refuge for debtors and a buffer against Spanish Florida, Georgia grew to become the largest state east of the Mississippi River by land area, a state that experienced the full tragedy and transformation of American history through slavery, the Civil War, Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Movement, and the extraordinary economic and cultural renaissance of the modern New South. Atlanta, Georgia's capital and largest city, is one of the great American success stories of the 20th century. Rising from the ashes of Sherman's March to become one of the most dynamic, most diverse, and most economically powerful cities in the entire country. And Savannah, Georgia's first city, remains one of the most beautiful and historically intact urban environments in all of America. Its historic district a living museum of antebellum architecture and Southern cultural tradition. The coin in your hand, if you're lucky enough to have a 1999 D Georgia quarter in your possession, connects you to all of that, to the peach orchards and the live oak avenues and the red clay hills and the long, complex, beautiful, painful story of Georgia and of America. But if that coin is also one of the rarest, finest, most dramatically error-struck examples ever to emerge from the Denver Mint's 1999 production run, if it carries the hallmarks of an experimental planchet, a dramatic double strike, a major die error, or some combination of characteristics that no other known example shares, then what you have in your hand is not just a coin and not just a piece of history. What you have is worth $162 million, and it genuinely, honestly could change your life, your family's life, and the lives of generations to come, in the same breath-stealing, reality-rewriting way that only the most extraordinary finds in the history of human treasure hunting have ever managed to do. So check your change. Check your coin jars. Check the rolls of quarters sitting unopened in your desk drawer, the coins rattling around in your car's cup holder, the handful of change you got back from your last coffee purchase. Because somewhere in America right now, a 1999 Georgia State quarter worth $162 million is either sitting safely in a collector's vault, or it's waiting quietly for someone who knows what to look for to finally find it and claim the fortune it's been holding all these long years. That is the magic of coins. That is the magic of this incredible hobby. That is why we do what we do here at Coinexa USA, because the next great discovery could belong to any one of us at any moment in the most ordinary place imaginable. Thank you for watching this entire video, and if you learned something today, if we changed the way you look at the coins in your pocket, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another coin that could change your life. We'll see you in the next one.